Before we start the video, make sure to subscribe to my channel. I appreciate all the support I received from you. And as always, all the information in my videos is rumors taken from the internet or the street. I'm not saying the information is fact. The story of No Limit Faro, DrenchGang. We have now come to one of the most tragic incidents in this story, and that is the death of one of the twins from DrenchGang and LMB, Lil Ro's other half, Twino Grindin. Twino was driving his SRT together with his cousin No Limit Faro. They were traveling at high speed when Twino lost control over the car and crashed it in an intersection at West 59th Street and South Wells Street, which is Daytown territory. There is no article about this, so it is difficult to know what happened in detail, but Faro, who was in the car with him, said in an Instagram story that he tried to save his cousin's life, but Twino's life could not be saved. Only at the age of 17, Twino, whose real name was Rashawn Reynolds, was pronounced dead at the hospital shortly after the crash, leaving his twin brother, Lil Ro, in pieces. I doubt the police was involved in this crash in any type of way. If that was the case, that information would have been out by now, either from members or the media. Twino was kind of known to drive his SRT kind of recklessly, skipping stop signs, red lights and whatnot, which most of the members in Chicago do to avoid getting caught lacking. Handling cars like this without much experience can have devastating consequences for yourself and your loved ones. The reactions on social media were immense, both from No Limit and their enemies. Nearly everyone had something to say about it, whether it was mockery or members paying homage. The one who mourned the most was of course Twino's other half, Lil Ro from DrenchGang. He uploaded several posts on both Instagram and Facebook, mourning his late brother. Faro, who grew up with the two twins, uploaded multiple old pictures of the three as children along with heartbreaking paragraphs about their upbringing together. Cairo uploaded a story with the text, "Damn Twino, I can throw up off this right now, I'm sick, we ain't never take a major loss to some shit like this." Instagram really flourished with messages from loved ones, "Wet em up, doo-wop, G-bread, brew, Lil Loss, Lil Buzz, Mineski," and so on. Everybody had love for Twino Grindin. However, it wasn't just messages from loved ones after Twino's death. Members of Pocket Town, KTS, Death Row and even 800 were quick with the mockery on social media. The mockery came not least from Lil Don from Pocket Town, who uploaded a story with the text, "I don't care how he died, he is dead lol, I'm finna roll him up right now." He also went live on Instagram and mocked Twino, saying it's crashy outside, as a response to Twino's messages about it's spooky outside. Fa from Death Row also mocked Twino by writing, "F Lil Twin." Lil Art from Pocket Town uploaded a picture of KTS Trey as a response to Twino's death, which indicates that Twino was one of the shooters or was at least present. Lil Trey from 800 would also upload several disrespectful stories about Twino's death. After a lot of mockery from enemies, Faro uploaded a story with a clear message, "Let me just say this, on my dead father, any man mentioning Twino's name is going to eat their words for sure. Nobody did anything to my cousin. We get talked about, they get touched. You will realize sooner or later. One thing you have to understand, the whole NLMB is really behind Faro, Twino and Lil Ro. These are not some random shorties who moved into No Limit. The older members of NLMB are close with their family and also watch the three grow up from babies to grown men. NLMB is very unique in that way, it really is like a big family. This is why you rarely hear anything about backdoors within No Limit.
That's what I was talking all that shit. I'm gonna miss him talking shit in my DM. He used to be inboxing me talking about it's spooky outside. Now it's real crash outside or some shit. It's crashy outside. Wear your motherfucking seatbelt. It's crashy outside, goddammit. This dumbass nigga, bro.
Hey baby, y'all wanna have none of that. Little boy always talking shit to me and shit. You should've drove your car right, bitch. Shut up. I don't wanna hear that shit. Ball up. Bye. Would you? Y'all ass like crying. Nobody did shit to everybody. Every time somebody die, and they don't die from gun violence, motherfuckers always that. Ain't nobody do shit to folks. Fuck you talking about? Ooh. I'm like, man, shut up. Y'all go to them funerals, man. Bye. Shut up.
Oh, Black the Rank, that bitch was nice.
Yeah, that's the one that came down that block when they shooting each other, but I ain't on recording, but fuck it. Hey, where you was at?
50th? 59th right there, I mean. The 59th.
Damn, you dead dumb.
Two weeks later, No Limit lost a third member, Big B, who was sitting on a porch in the 8400 block of South Bennett Avenue when someone opened fire, striking him multiple times. Big B, 30, whose real name was Baron Jones, was sadly pronounced dead at the University of Chicago Medical Center shortly after the shooting. Big B was an older but well-respected member from NLMB. What's crazy is that Big B was featured in one of Cairo's No Limit vlogs just a few days before he was killed. An interesting detail about this murder is that he was sitting on a porch in the territory of Outlaw City, also known as No Good, who have been at war with No Limit more than a decade. I'm not saying No Good is behind the murder. I actually don't know who was behind it as I haven't heard anything, but it could definitely be a good clue as to who was behind it. An interesting detail is that Big B actually mainly claimed Drama World. Big B was very respected within NLMB. Several DrenchGang members such as Lil Loss, Mineski and Lil Ro paid homage. What's crazy is that before the members from No Limit started posting Big B on Instagram, Lil Art from Pocket Town uploaded a story with the text, "Get ready to cry." Other enemies such as Fa 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 from Buff City was also quick with the mockery. Even Lil Don from Pocket Town, who was locked up, and still is, uploaded a story mocking Big B. Lil Don was arrested just a few days before the murder. He is currently facing charges such as unlawful use of a weapon and criminal trespass to a motor vehicle. My guess is that Lil Don will be locked up for quite some time. Even if he beats these charges, he also has a warrant out on him from Lake County. 2 weeks later, another man was murdered. Although this time it wasn't NLMB who lost a member, this time it was No Limit, and DrenchGang in specific, who would catch a body on Paxtown and by doing that, avenging Lil P from NLMB. On July 2nd, 2022, Jackboy Lil Don from Paxtown was riding around on a bicycle in the 2100 block of East 71st Street, which is Paxtown territory. Suddenly, 2 cars pulled up, one blue 2006 BMW 325i, and one 1997 Toyota 4Runner's truck. At least 3 members equipped with switches jumped out of the car and started shooting Lil Don, who instantly fell off the bike. Lil Don was shot over 15 times in the upper body and face. At least 2 of the shooters finished him off while standing over him. Lil Don, whose real name was Darnell Trotter, 31, was taken to the University of Chicago Medical Center, where he was tragically pronounced dead. This brutal hit, where Lil Don was literally drenched with bullets, just like KT Stray, was orchestrated by DrenchGang and TTD, also known as Guap Gang. According to the police report, there are 4 suspects that the police are looking for. However, I think there were at least 1 or 2 more on the hit. There are usually more members present than the police mention. I have heard 6 names: Kobo75 and D-Money from TTD, and Varu, Lil Loss, Faro and Lil Ro from DrenchGang. Those are the 6 names I have heard, and there are really no surprises except for Kobo75 from TTD, who many know as a rapper. However, Kobo75 is a well-known shooter from TTD, with at least 3 alleged bodies under his belt. He is very close with Faro, and DrenchGang in general. He even got a song together with Faro called Get M, which was released on April 22nd, 2022. This was Faro's 4th alleged body. Rio G and Spook from Pocket Town, Dre from KTS, and now Lil Don from Paxtown, 4 outstanding members with bodies under their belt taken out by the same person, Faro from DrenchGang. The mocking of Lil Don came mostly from East End since they are the main enemies for Paxtown. However, the mockery from NLMB was barely existing. Sure, there were a couple of laughing emojis here and there. Faro made a post on Facebook the next day asking why legal help firm hasn't updated their page. It wasn't more than that. For those of you who don't understand Faro's mockery, Legal Help Firm is a Facebook page who posts all the gunshot victims in Chicago, but for some reason they never posted Lil Don, which Faro found very amusing. I almost think that both No Limit and Paxtown want to keep the conflict low-key and not let it degenerate with mockery on social media. Also, Paxtown mostly focuses on East End. I don't think they are really worried about No Limit like that. Lil Don from Paxtown scored on No Limit by killing Lil P in East End territory, and No Limit scored on Paxtown by killing Lil Don together with East End. I don't know if they will leave it like that, but it's possible. Both sides have other wars to focus on, especially No Limit, who is down bad in the conflict with Death Row. In addition, there are other wars that could happen, for example with 800 as I mentioned earlier, or even O-Block's new generation called DSG, who are very tight with Buff City due to family ties. Now, it was not No Limit who was behind the murder of BD nor Lil James from Buff City, but I feel tensions with TSG could easily heat up if No Limit catch someone from Buff City who is close with DSG, Fa for example, who was very tight with Too Hot from a Block, who was killed in May 2022. We will come to Fa later, but I can tell you that he is high up on DrenchGang's wishlist. Anyway, Kobo75 from DTD has dropped several hints about his involvement in the murder of Lil Don. On September 10th, 2022, he commented on my posts about the death of LC from Taekwon World. He first commented laughing emojis, due to East End not getting along with Taekwon World. After several comments from fake accounts who dissed Kobo replied with, "Go Google us, we don't lose. Y'all mad because dude got knocked off a bike, it's funny." Only 5 days later, DrenchGang would allegedly catch another body, this time on their rivals, Pocket Town. Of course, I'm talking about the murder of Freeband Bobo, the man who made the phone call to Pocket Town and told them about Lil Greg's whereabouts. He had money on his head and many gangs in Chicago knew it. This murder is the reason why I never mentioned his name in the story of Pocket Town Part 3. I knew his name was hot and that members from different sets were after him. He had already had 1 or 2 attempts on his life. He knew his life was in danger and big parts of the city were after him to collect the money. On July 7th, 2022, Bobo's life would tragically come to an end. As I told you about earlier in the story, Bobo had basically fled Chicago for the sake of his life. He had moved to Houston in January or February of 2022. For some reason, Bobo returned to Chicago on either July 6th or 7th, to party with a group of friends. Bobo stayed in an apartment in downtown Chicago from where he uploaded pictures on Instagram story. He also uploaded a picture of a stack of money with the caption, "It ain't even been 12 hours yet. Time to get drunk somewhere." 3 hours later, he uploaded a picture of him and friends taking shots together. An hour after that, he uploaded a picture of him drinking with friends at an unknown location. Later in the evening, Bobby and his friends were at the Emporium, a barcade on Milwaukee Avenue, which is approximately a 25-minute drive away from No Limit's hood. Bobo and his friends had a good time, drinking, playing games and whatnot. However, the happy mood would quickly change and the evening would end in disaster. There are two possible reasons why Freeband Bobo was killed. According to the Chicago Scanner account on Twitter, the situation started with an altercation at the Emporium arcade bar. Bobo then left the bar together with a girl named Robin, a woman he was making money with, and one other man. They hopped in a black vehicle and drove away from their previous location where the altercation occurred. While Bobo was driving, another vehicle suddenly pulled up, a black Jeep. The Jeep pulled up alongside Bobo's car, and at least one man in the Jeep started letting off shots towards Bobo, who was hit in the left hip and abdomen. The 34-year-old woman, Robin, was shot in the left shoulder and left hip as well, while the third man was not wounded. However, Bobo managed to speed away from the Jeep while bleeding from the hip, but a few minutes later, Bobo tragically lost consciousness and crashed the car on the way to the hospital in the 1600 block of West Congress. Both Bobo and Robin were transported to Strager Hospital in critical condition. Robin luckily survived. Bobo, however, was tragically dead on arrival. Family of Bobo, 28, whose real name was Bobby Jones, said Bobby liked to travel, could make light of any bad situation and always had a smile on his face. But most of all, he loved his 1-year-old daughter, Azia, the family said. Other family members I have talked to said he was very humble and genuine and was a skilled money maker. They said he knew how to make money in multiple ways, without selling drugs or hurting others. Me personally, who talked with Bobo, concur, he seemed humble and was very friendly. Now I'll tell you why I said there were two possible reasons why Bobo was killed. The first one has to do with the altercation at the arcade bar shortly before he was killed. According to insider sources, Trigger, also known as Trey from DrenchGang, was in the same arcade bar this evening and allegedly made a phone call to No Limit about Bobo's whereabouts. I don't know if the altercation was with Trigger, but that would be the most plausible theory. I don't think Trigger was the killer, even though he claims he has lost count of his work in the street. It's possible, but I think it would have been too obvious. Too many witnesses and cameras would have seen him leave the club. It would basically have been too big a risk for him to get caught. The other possible reason is the man who accompanied Bobo and was inside his car once the shots started to ring off. This man was untouched by bullets and was even brought in for questioning by the police, but was almost immediately released. According to my sources, This man was identified as 500 Savage from HRYM, which stands for Hood Rich Young Money, and is located on the west side of Chicago. They beef with sets such as Ghost Mob and Sane Gang. Anyway, 500 Savage was friends with Bobo. I think they made money together and they followed each other on Instagram. Basically, Bobo knew who he was. He was not a stranger to him, and it was probably no wonder that he was sitting in his car. However, here's the thing. 500 Savage is very close with DrenchGang and NLMB, especially with Traeger, Lil Ro, Lil Loss and Cairo. He was even attending the funeral of G Slim's ex-girlfriend, Baby D, where the whole NLMB was present. He also took pictures with several DrenchGang members. A few months after the murder, he even put the text, Drench M, in his bio on Instagram. There is a probability that he is actually the murderer, but I see that possibility as very low. Police found a weapon in Bobo's car. Not sure who it belonged to, but if it was the murder weapon, police would have surely figured that out by now. He may still have something to do with the murder. Maybe he made a phone call as well, because I don't think the police brought him in for questioning for no reasons. They must have known about his affiliation with DrenchGang. By the way, when I say he is close with DrenchGang, I mean very close. Lil Ro even wished him a happy birthday with the text, "Happy birthday to another outstanding member." We get on his blog untouched. Come on our end, untouched. This goes both ways. Wish you many more blood. It's actually quite unknown who actually was in the Jeep. Lil Art from Pocket Town claims it wasn't enemies who got Bobo, while No Limit says the opposite. According to sources I have spoken to who were very close to Bobo, it is clear that it was either Trigger or 500 Savage who made the phone call. However, when it comes to who was in the vehicle, it gets more complicated. However, there are three names I have heard that were in the Jeep: Faro, Lil Ro and possibly Varu. All three from DrenchGang and LMB. Faro and his cousin Lil Ro are two names I've heard frequently when it comes to this hit. Bobo's family even had Faro as a suspect just days after the hit. However, this does not mean that it is true. Lil Art's statement could be true, but quite honestly I take such statements with a large pinch of salt, because members always say that to discredit their enemies and fool the internet. But like I said, it could still be true. Bobo had a lot of enemies after him due to the money on his head, so it may also have been an outside gang. Maybe HRYM that could have got him. However, my personal belief is that it was No Limit, Faro and Lil Ro. Those are the indications I've been given. In addition, Faro is frequently rapping about doing hits in Jeeps, and during Halloween, he was even riding around in a black Jeep with Lil Wet, shooting random pedestrians with paintball guns in downtown Chicago. By the way, this was actually close to ending badly, since one of the people they were shooting at pulled out a real gun and fired a bullet at their car, luckily without hitting anyone.
Hey, school right up! School ass!
He's trying to hold his phone like he
They
got
say,
a gun.
they tell my ass you ain't gonna run in the store, George. I bet I'll run in that bitch. I gotta get the emails for that. Oh, yeah. Nah, we cool. Go. No, that's not bad, dude. That's it, Keep driving, man. Keep driving, man.
As many of you have already guessed, the mockery of Freeband Bobo would be massive, not least by Cairo and Faro. Just hours after the murder, Faro uploaded several stories with a bunch of laughing emojis and one story with the text, "All the homies dying. They shouldn't wanna be in a gang no more," followed by several laughing emojis. Cairo uploaded multiple stories where he made fun of Bobo. For example, he uploaded a picture of the kids show Bob the Builder with the caption, "This used to be my favorite cartoon as a shorty." He later uploaded a story with the text, "My next hairstyle finna be a bob," and Greg Jackson clapping shit in his sleep. EBK Juvie, who apparently was in jail with Bobo, uploaded a story with the text, "Not my jail buddy. Bro wasn't with that. I mean roll up." DrenchGang Varu uploaded a picture with the caption, "Greg knows we gon' stand on that business. Mally do too. Long live and free the real." No Limit Wet M Up uploaded a picture with the text, "Shout out Drench," which is a clear indication to DrenchGang's involvement in the murder. Even Doo-Wop, who usually stays quiet, uploaded a picture of Lil Greg with the text, "The biggest," followed by a laughing emoji and a heart. Lil Ro from DrenchGang, one of the alleged killers, uploaded a picture of himself with the caption, "Problem solver." A few days later, Faro uploaded a picture with Lil Ro with the text, "I'm a damn fool by myself. It's DOA when I'm with Baby Drench." For those of you who don't know, Baby Drench is another name of Lil Ro. He even uses it as his artist name. One member who didn't tune in with the mockery was Mineski. He just uploaded a story with the text, "Stop dry snitching." If my reports are correct, this was Faro's 5th alleged body in a time span of 2 years. The crazy thing with Faro is that his alleged bodies are not just regular members, it's not just random targets. His first alleged body was the killer of his dad and Magic from NLMB. His second alleged body was Pocket Town's leader, the alleged killer of G Slim and who was present at the Lil Greg hit. His third alleged body was the leader of KTS, the alleged killer of Magic and Big Loss from NLMB. His fourth alleged body was one of Pax Town's most outstanding members and alleged killer of Lil P from NLMB, a death that made Faro's heart numb according to himself. His fifth alleged body was the direct reason why Lil Greg was killed. On top of all this, Faro has at least a dozen of attempted murders under his belt. I don't think you understand how rare this is, that one member, at his age, got all those high-ranking members out of the way. A small detail is also the fact that Faro allegedly caught both Lil Don from Pax Town and Freeban Boba from Pocket Town within 5 days. This is why his story is so interesting to me. A week after the murder of Freeban Bobo, Faro even uploaded a picture of himself with the caption, "What's his age? He got all them, WTF," and gave himself the nickname Big Op. Faro is without a doubt DrenchGang's most outstanding member together with Cairo, even though Cairo doesn't claim DrenchGang. Cairo himself has claimed he's top 5 within NLMB. My guess is that Faro is also up there with Mad Max, Mally, Cairo and Wet 'em Up. As usual, the tables would turn yet again. In the 2 next coming months, No Limit would lose 3 members, all 3 killed by the same gang, Death Row 085. First out was Zello from NLMB, who was killed on July 22, 2022. Zello, 26, was standing with another male, 65, in the 7500 block of South Colfax Avenue, which is Black Mob territory, when someone across the street opened fire on them, with Zello being the target. Zello was struck in his body multiple times and was taken to the University of Chicago Medical Center, where he was pronounced dead. The 65-year-old man, who I suspect to be an innocent bystander, got hit in the left leg and declined medical attention at the scene. As I previously stated, Death Row was behind this murder, and according to reports I have received from sources, the shooters were BD and Fa from Death Row/Buff City, who frequently hang out in Black Mob territory. Zello was the cousin of Wiz from NLMB, who mourned his loss just hours after the murder on social media. A lot of mockery came with his murder, not least by Death Row but also Lil Don from Pocket Town, who uploaded a story with the text, "All sides stay on their heels." Once I posted the news, I uploaded a picture of Zello on my Instagram, stating that he had passed away but not knowing the cause of his death yet. However, Mullah from Death Row was quick with commenting on the post by writing, "He got the belt, that's the cause." This comment led to a huge discussion in the comment section, mainly between Fa from Buff City and Lil Loss from DrenchGang. Both mocked each other by saying one chased the other and vice versa, that they were fighting back in the day, and Lil Loss started throwing bottles and whatnot. Fa even stated that he had shot a couple of No Limit members, which is actually true. He even shot Savo's killer, Lil 40 from NLMB, which I mentioned earlier in the video. Another thing, If you are wondering why I'm so sure about Death Row getting Zello, Fa basically admitted to it on Instagram story, which I will show you now. A little less than 2 weeks later, it was time again. This time it was Freddy from NLMB who would fall victim to the vicious violence on the east side of Chicago. Freddy, 33, was walking in the 2600 block of East 75th Street when someone fired a gunshot, according to Chicago police. This was the same block Zello was killed in 2 weeks earlier, and terrifyingly it was also the same gunman, at least one of them, Pt5 from Buff City/Death Row. The other shooter was allegedly AWOL from Black Mob, who actually was questioned about the murder but was later charged with other unrelated charges. Again, this shows how close Black Mob and Death Row/Buff City are. Freddy was shot multiple times, including in the head, and was pronounced dead at the hospital a few hours after the shooting. I don't know why No Limit members insist on walking around in Black Mob territory. Even if Black Mob is nearly extinct and rarely on the block, Death Row and Buff City are often there, lurking for No Limit members. Not many members honored Freddy. The one who mourned him the most was Faro from DrenchGang, who I believe is the cousin of Freddy. Freddy was No Limit's 6th loss in 2022. A loss is a loss. It's a human being getting killed, someone's son, brother and father. But if I'm going to be brutally honest, neither Zello or Freddy was active in the streets. Both were kind of innocent according to real members, and I have even seen No Limit members, behind closed doors, stating that they don't even claim Freddy. Strangely enough, there wasn't much mockery after the murder of Freddy. I've actually mostly seen No Limit members clowning Death Row and Buff City for only killing innocent and older members. Pt5 from Death Row had now killed Willie, Zello and Freddy from NLMB. However, he was not done yet with No Limit. 3 weeks after the murder of Freddy, he would score yet again, this time on DrenchGang. On August 28, 2022, Lil Trey Young from DrenchGang was outside on a porch of a residence in the 500 block of West 87th Street when shots suddenly started to ring off from 2 alleged offenders. Lil Trey Young was shot multiple times in both the head and the body and was later pronounced dead at the University of Chicago Medical Center. Lil Trey, also known as Shaky, was only 18 years old when he was shot dead and left his family and girlfriend with a broken heart. Lil Trey was also the brother of Lil Mark from NLMB, who constantly mourns him on social media. Lil Trey is another example of a young teenager growing up in this environment. There is a picture of him as a child with Lil Bibby, which it's just crazy to see, and the idea of that child getting shot dead a few years later. The alleged shooters behind this murder were Pt5 together with Fa, both from Buff City/Death Row/SMG 23. This was Pt5's 4th alleged body on No Limit alone and Fa's 2nd body on No Limit. However, Pt5's actions would catch up to him quickly. Only a few hours later, Pt5 would face the same fate as his victims. As I said, only a few hours later, Pt5 was hanging out with KY from 049 Murderfield, which by the way is an extinct set nowadays. Either way, Pt5 and KY were outside in the 8300 block of South Paxton Avenue, an area close to MTG, No Good and No Limit 083. While outside, BD and KY got into an argument with another male. The argument tragically led to the third male pulling out a gun and shooting both BD and KY. BD was shot in the leg, arm, chest and head, while KY was shot in the back, torso and pelvis. Both victims were DOA. Based on where the victims were shot, my guess is that BD was the first one to get hit and that KY tried to run but could not outrun the flying bullets and ended up getting struck in the back multiple times. Now many are probably wondering if it was the DrenchGang who killed BD and KY as revenge for the murder of Lil Trey Young. The answer to that is both yes and no. At first, many of us believed that it was members from DrenchGang who carried out the murder, partly because of the clear motive but also because of the heavy mockery from multiple No Limit members. For example, Lil Ro from DrenchGang uploaded stories where he wrote things such as, "Ain't no timing on get back," and "I drench him," followed by laughing emojis. Muwop from DrenchGang uploaded a picture of one of BD's victims, Willie from NLMB, with the caption, "Ain't no killing without killing." He also uploaded a picture of Bello, BD and Savo from Death Row, saying the picture was funny, which alludes to the fact that all three are dead today. Varu from DrenchGang uploaded a story with the text, "DrenchGang make it rain, no ocean." No Limit Faro was not shy with the mockery either. He clowned Fa for grieving on Facebook, for example. However, Faro also uploaded a story with the message, "Not gon' post you until I make a dude feel how I do, Lil Trey Young. They gon' wish they never touched you, on my dead brother." There were basically a whole lot of stories from DrenchGang members who indicated that they were the ones pulling the trigger, but as I said, it is false. But not completely false. Just hours after the murder, I received reports that BD and KY were backdoored, which makes sense since the news article stated that they got into an argument with an unknown offender before getting killed. According to what I've heard, BD and KY were backdoored by somebody close to DrenchGang, which means he carried out the double murder on their behalf. "Just know we got people who love us," to quote a message I got from an initiated source. Ever since the death of BD, his twin brother, Fa, has been on the hunt to get back on both No Limit and the killer. Fa has even uploaded stories stating he has made several mothers cry during the next following weeks after the murder. BD was truly an outstanding member from Buff City/Death Row 085. He had 4 bodies on No Limit alone, which adds him to the list with members such as Shooter Shells, Shoddy Hit and KT Stray, who all had several bodies on NLMB alone. Only one member on this list is still alive, Shoddy Hit from Black Mob. BD was also the twin brother of Fa from Buff City/SMG23, who has 2 bodies on NLMB, Zello and Lil Trey Young. After BD's death, Fa uploaded several stories with messages such as, "You all people be straight bapping. Only reason people are wolfing is because Twin was laying belt on people, and, on my dead homie, people know who really do the killing. Sleep tight, you know you'll finna get some company. Fa later uploaded a very crazy story of a picture of BD in the text. You were the last face a lot of people saw, damn near 10 kills, 100s to the east, people know your name stamped. Des from Lakeside also sent his condolences on social media, and Trigger from Rawtown even uploaded a story with the text, people play with blood like Willie's head ain't get rearranged. What's crazy is that even Lil Woody from Circon City Gangsters paid homage to the bully, as BD was called. Woody even stated that the same people who was dissing him was scared of him, and also called him Mr. Spank Ops. This really shows the tensions between Circon City and NLMB. I actually believe what Fa said about his twin. BD had a crazy body count with 4 bodies on No Limit and at least 2 in the 100s. Just as BD, Fa also have a crazy body count, with bodies on NLMB, No Limit 083, 100s, and I believe he was the one who killed DBK Juvie's brother Elijah in late October 2022. As I mentioned earlier in the story, Fa was also the one who shot Savo's killer in 2020, Lil 40 from NLMB. Fa is without a doubt on top of No Limit's list of enemies there want gone, along with Lil Don from Pocket Town. We have now begun to come to the end of this incredibly long story. Recently, some No Limit members have been locked up. Mally is still locked up on murder charges in Cook County. Merch Money was recently sentenced to 7 years in prison for unlawful use of a weapon, burglary and possession of a stolen vehicle. In early October 2022, Laro, Lil Mike, J. and Varu, all 4 from No Limit / DrenchGang, got locked up on gun charges and possession of a stolen vehicle. However, 3 of them have now been released. Recently, Chemo from NLMB got arrested and charged with unlawful use of a weapon but is now released. Lil Ro from DrenchGang was also arrested with a gun recently, but was released the next day for unknown reason, possibly because of his young age, 17. Lil Ro then falsely accused his cousin Ella from NLMB of snitching on him, but later took the story down. From what I've heard, they talked it out over the phone. Lil 40 from NLMB was also arrested a couple of weeks ago but is now free. Recently, Lilo from DrenchGang got locked up for the murder of Darius Davis, also known as Smock, who was shot and killed on October 21, 2022 in No Limit's hood. To my knowledge, Smock was innocent and just happened to be at the wrong place at the wrong time, supposedly in the middle of a shootout between NLMB and No Limit 083. Lilo, only 17, is currently held without bond for first-degree murder and attempted murder of a 30-year-old woman who was sitting in the car with Smock and was struck by gunfire. Police really seem to target NLMB and DrenchGang in specific. I would not be surprised if they got hit with something big in the near future, a RICO for example. On November 3, 2022, No Limit took their 8th loss of the year 2022. One of NLMB's big members, Lil Ant, was shot and killed while sitting in his car in Wiz City territory. Lil Ant was shot 4 times in his head after an argument with a man named Keith Williams, who was later charged with the murder. Keith is a rather unknown guy. I've heard he's from off Wabash. I have also heard that he is a member from 081 Smashville, and according to reports I have received, NLMB has basically declared war with them. Lil Ant was a very respected member. He was from the same generation as Cairo, Mally, Mad Max and Crazy James. He was a shooter. The losses did not end for NLMB in 2023. On February 19th, Cello from Shorty Mob /Block/4 Nick was shot and killed in No Limit territory. Cello was not per se a NLMB member, but he was a part of their new generation coming up called Shorty Mob, who together with DrenchGang is at heavy war with ESD, GBG and No Limit 083, who are all 3 allies. There has been a lot of shootings between the two. Members from both sides have claimed to have chased one another. In October 2022, Lilo from DrenchGang, who I mentioned earlier, allegedly killed Lil Curtis from GBG for taking his pipe, which he gave to No Limit 083, who I believe still have it. This was the same month Lilo a week later killed the innocent person in a shootout with No Limit 083. The main members causing noise from No Limit 083 are the twins, who allegedly have been in several shootouts with DrenchGang and Shorty Mob. Recently, Jay Ski from DrenchGang was on Instagram Live with No Limit 083 and basically challenged them to kill him on Yates, which fortunately did not happen. Couple of weeks ago, I got a DM which said, "Give it 1 to 2 months, you'll be making a video about Shorty Mob /DrenchGang and ESD Get Busy Gang." A lot has already happened between the gangs, but in the future you will probably see such a video. When it comes to who killed Cello, there are various theories, but what I have heard from good sources is that he was backdoored by Shorty Mob. Whether it is about a member from Shorty Mob actually pulling the trigger or dropping his location to enemies is unknown. Just 6 days after the murder of No Limit lost another member, Kill a Day. However, He did not die due to gun violence but passed away in his sleep. He was a well-known member. He was extremely close with Malabux, Dolph, Kimo and many others. Lately there has been a lot of trolling between Pocket Town and No Limit, and before I end this video I just want to kill the rumor that NLMB killed Big Lock from Pocket Town in late December 2022. What I have heard is that Big Lock was killed by two brothers accompanied with two others because Big Lock allegedly messed around with their sister. This was the last part of the story of No Limit Faro from DrenchGang. I send my condolences to all the families who have lost loved ones to gang violence in Chicago.